T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All three engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Coach on Fire Radio.
I am the tiger, dancing through the fire. I am the champion, and you're gonna hear me roar.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in this beautiful world. And a very, very warm welcome to my radio show, Let's Talk Relationships and Life. And it really is wonderful to have you with us today. And I'm so excited to introduce my guest in a moment. But first, I just wanted to take a minute to talk to you about what you can expect to learn and how you will feel so inspired by the shows, which are aired every other Saturday. And my name is Louise Armstrong, and I am a healer of hearts. And you know, every show I do gets more and more exciting. It really does, because the guests that I'm having on the show are just amazing, just amazing. So, why am I doing these shows? Well, I'm really, really passionate about relationships, and I have such a drive in me to really share my message and to be able to share other people's messages all about relationships. And this really comes from my own personal transformation, because I believe all of us crave to be emotionally loved, and that could be on a romantic level, personal, or through friendships. But you know, if we're unable to make this connection, it's really because we are emotionally wounded ourselves. And so self-love is that first step in healing. And we need to look at that before we can even look at really making those emotional connections with others. And I really do understand that so many of us struggle with relationships. And you know, this was me for years and years and years. I have had very destructive relationships in the past. And this might be you right now. Perhaps you're going through a breakup. Maybe you're recently divorced, or your partner's had an affair. Perhaps you're struggling with your mother or your father or your children, or maybe your husband's left you, or a work colleague has let you down. Well, you know, this is where we're going to come in, because we're going to really help you to heal those wounds, learn to love yourself, and make those emotional connections that you really want. Well, I have a wonderful relationship business helping individuals and couples all over the world. And now I feel this is the right time for me to give other experts a chance to share their expertise. And this is where the show will be of such value, as I'll be introducing to you amazing coaches, therapists, motivators, and public speakers to share with you their knowledge. And they're going to help you in so many aspects of your relationship, because life really is all about relationships. And the better the connection, the better of the quality of life we all have. So, without further ado, I am going to introduce my fantastic guest today, Dave Edelstein. Now, Dave, just before I go any further, please tell me I have pronounced your name properly, because I only have been calling you Dave.
Well, everybody only calls me Dave, but my last name is actually pronounced Edelstein.
Edelstein, and I'm so sorry, Edelstein, but we need to get this right, because I'm not very good with names, and I have only been referring to you as Dave. So apologies there. Dave Edelstein. And Dave Edelstein is going to talk to us all about communication, and why communication is the foundation of all relationships, and how it so often goes wrong, and how mindful communication can really help. Because Dave is a mindful communication coach. Wow, this is so needed. Dave is the mind behind Better Than Before, the website of mindful communication. He has a degree in philosophy from Harvard University. He now lives in Ecuador, because I can't say Cuenca. My pronunciation is really appalling today. I do apologise. How do you say that, Dave, please?
It's Cuenca.
Cuenca.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. And he's living now with his wife, Yadira Brito. Now, please tell me that is correct. I should have gone through.
That was very good.
Okay, wonderful. I'm getting better.
Yes, it's coming right along.
The turn to mindful communication came as Dave began to offer health and wellness coaching online. And he learned that many people struggle to communicate with the most important people in their lives. And this really is because we focus too much on exchanging information when what we really want is intimacy and openness. And the primary goal of Dave's mindful communication is relationship building and true connection. And Dave shares his thoughts on the Better Than Before blog and Facebook pages. And you can write to him directly at dave@betterthanbefore.com. Wonderful, wonderful. So a huge welcome, Dave, and I'm so excited to get our show on the road.
Well, it's a thrill for me to be here, Louise. I'm really happy to get a chance to talk with you today and with your audience.
Fantastic, fantastic, and it's a real pleasure to have you because actually, my communication. What's wrong with my words today? They're not flowing. My focus this past week or so has all been about communication. So this is very, very exciting for all you listeners out there because it really is the crux of relationships. We really do need to know how to communicate to have any relationship. So, Dave, please tell us what you think that the true purpose of communication is. Just enlighten us on that one. Can you to kickstart us off?
Well, Louise, I think we can even go down to the level of biology to get to the issue of the true purpose of communication. Humans are not the only organisms that communicate. There are even bacteria that communicate. But the reason that creatures communicate is to build community and is to connect. There are few organisms that can survive totally by themselves, and humans are not built to do that at all. We're absolutely grouping, trooping creatures. And to do that effectively, to do that efficiently, and what makes humans so exceptional in the world of living things is our subtle and complex way of communicating with each other. We can communicate at so much a higher level and in so much more detail than really any other organism. And this is so much of what makes us human. To connect, to relate, to build relationships, to feel a part of things, all require good communication skills.
Absolutely, and I'm so with you on that one. It is so important, and you can just see the way humans live, can't you? You can just see that the way we live, that we crave that interaction, and that's what we all want.
Well, we really do, and it's an unfortunate thing. Even people who think that they don't, who isolate themselves and willfully live alone, shorten their lifespans by doing so. Some people think that sort of isolating behavior is damaging because it produces loneliness, and loneliness is stressful, and it's the loneliness that's damaging. And if a person likes to be alone and isn't lonely, that they're fine. And in fact, that isn't the case. What actually shortens people's lifespan is the isolation itself.
Is it really?
Lonely people,
wow.
Lonely people have their issues, have their health issues.
Yeah.
But people who are isolated, whether they're lonely or not, have shorter lifespans and a larger range of illnesses. We are meant to be together, and you can look at any society and you see grouping. Sometimes groupings are family units. Sometimes groupings are tribal units. Sometimes groupings are by choice or larger groups. Nations are groups, but humans group. It's something that is part of our makeup.
Yeah, and you can just see, as you can just see it all over the world. We actually, that's why we live in villages and towns, and I mean, for me, I live in the middle of the desert. We've just been moved out here, and there's 500 houses, and we're all bunched together. We're not on our own, you know. So, and that's it, you know, the communication and the connection. You know, humans want to make that connection. You know, it's part of us, and as you say, it's a biological part of us, isn't it? It's not even something that we consciously think about. It's actually part of us.
It's also something that brings out the best in us. The most creative areas in the world are cities.
Right, yeah.
Cities produce a tremendous, disproportionate amount of the world's creative and intellectual content. And again, it's because we work best together. Two minds really are better than one.
Yeah.
And this is that synergy. Two people come together and they produce more than twice as many ideas. It's a fantastic thing.
That's very exciting. Yeah, that is very exciting, and I'm very, very pleased that you mentioned that today. Whoa, so that's a great opening then. So how applying mindfulness practice to ordinary conversation? So this is the mindfulness part that I really want to get into, because this is going to be able to help you listeners out there actually communicate in a different way. So how does this mindfulness practice, Dave, enable you to connect more deeply with others? You know, just having everyday conversations. How does that work?
Well, first let me throw out a brief definition of mindfulness for those who may not be familiar with the concept.
Great.
It's the practice of maintaining a non-judgmental state of heightened awareness of one's thoughts, emotions, and experience on a moment-to-moment basis. So let me unpack that a little bit. When we live our ordinary, not mindful life, we tend to just flow along doing whatever we do, and life tends to leak out into thoughts about the past or concerns about the future, and it's very difficult for almost all of us to really live the present moment. To live the present moment, we have to pay attention to it. We have to focus on it because it's fleeting. The present moment roars into the past almost before we can appreciate it. By being mindful, we actually focus on living those moments instead of just letting them slip away. So in this sense, it's living life to its fullest. The other thing that's a big part of this is that as we're in the present moment, our brain doesn't stop producing thoughts, almost like a geyser or a volcano. Thoughts and the feelings that go with them follow one after another in a sort of swirling mass. If we're mindful, we become aware of this flow of thoughts, and we start to choose among those thoughts the ones that are helpful, the ones that are relevant, the ones that are true in the present moment, and letting go of those that are generalizations from the past or irrelevant ideas from the past or fear-based or just incorrect in some other way, or just not the most helpful thought that we have in the moment. Feelings, which always have a thought behind them, also need our attention. Mindfulness isn't about suppressing feelings. Very often, people think that the way to manage anger, for example, is just to crush it, to just hide it inside. That won't work. It can kill us, in fact. Anger is a real emotion, something we need to experience. But we need to express it in a way that connects us to other people and doesn't drive them away. And this is where mindful communication comes from. If we're being mindful, if we're being aware of our emotional and thought reactions to things that are being said, instead of letting emotions